Hey guys, welcome back. So in this episode, we are going to learn how to create a Figma design file, and after that, we are going to learn how to create basic shapes in Figma. Now, when we learn how to create basic shapes in Figma, we are going to learn basic editing for some of those basic shapes. And to round up this episode, we are going to learn how to create and edit text in Figma. Now, I believe that everyone watching this has a Figma account already, and I believe so because that's something we did in the last episode. But if you don't have a Figma account yet, go to figma.com to create an account for yourself. Now, just to mention here, the reason everyone watching this needs a Figma account is because Figma is the design tool that we will be using to learn how to create designs in this course. So let's see how to create a Figma design file, which is the first thing we want to learn how to do in this episode. Now, to create a Figma design file, all you have to do is log into your Figma account. And when you log into your Figma account, you are going to see what we call your Figma dashboard, which is going to look like what you are seeing on my screen currently. So when you find yourself on your Figma dashboard, all you have to do to create a Figma design file is to click on this button here that has New Design File written on it. And by clicking on that button, you have just created a Figma design file. So what I'm going to do at this stage is to just close this message that says, what do you want to make today? And to close this, I would click on this X sign here. And I'm going to also close this. And I would come over here where you can see all of these, right? All you have to do is just come here and click on File. Now, I believe that everyone watching this video is currently inside their own Figma design file, which is going to look like what you are seeing on my screen currently. But before we do any other thing, I would like to tell you that it is inside this Figma design file which we are currently in that you will stay to create any design you want to create. Now, whether it is a website design you want to create or a mobile app design that you want to create, whichever design it is you want to create, it is inside a Figma design file like this that you will stay in to create it. So now that we have created a Figma design file, let us give a name to the design file because currently our Figma design file is called Untitled. As you can see here where I am hovering my mouse cursor on, that's the name of our Figma design file currently, and that's not cool. Now, to give a name to your Figma design file, bring your mouse cursor over here where you can see mine. Click on this little arrow here beside the untitled word. When you do that, you are going to see a list of options appear in a drop down like this. Now, all you have to do is to come here and click on Rename. And when you do that, you'll see that the word Untitled here will now be highlighted in light blue, as you can see on my screen currently. So at this point, just press the backspace key on your keyboard. When you do that, the untitled word will be removed. And when it is removed, go ahead and type in a name that you will like to give to your Figma design file. Now, in my own case, I would stay here and I would type in Design Engineering. And when I am done typing, I will press the Enter key on my keyboard, and that's it. I have just given my Figma design file a name by renaming it from Untitled to Design Engineering. So that's that. So now that we have learned how to create a Figma design file and we have also seen how to give a name to a Figma design file, I believe it's time for us to learn how to create basic shapes in Figma. And for us to do that, I would want us to start by learning how to create a rectangle shape in Figma. Now, to create a rectangle shape here in Figma, all you have to do is to find the tool that can be used for creating it here in Figma. Now, this is a similar experience to what we do as humans when we want to create anything. Let's say, for example, I ask you to create a hole in the ground. As a human, what do you do first? Now, we all know that as a human, the first thing you would want to do if I ask you to create a hole in the ground is to find a tool like a shovel that can be used to create the hole in the ground, right? Now, that's the same thing that happens here in Figma. Whenever you want to create anything in Figma, you need to first of all find the tool that can be used to create that thing here in Figma. And now at the moment, what are we trying to create? Of course, we are trying to create a rectangle shape here in Figma. So this means that the first thing we need to do is to find the tool that can be used to create the rectangle shape here in Figma. Now, to find any tool here in Figma, you have to come here to the toolbar section. This section here at the bottom. That's the toolbar section. And any tool you are looking for here in Figma can be found here in the toolbar section. Now, the tool that I am looking for is the tool that can be used to create a rectangle shape, right? So I would come here to the toolbar section and find the tool that can help me create a rectangle shape. Now, this is where you can find that tool. Bring your mouse cursor, right, and hover on this tiny little arrow that I am hovering on currently. You can see where my mouse cursor is at, right? Now, when you hover on that tiny little arrow, you would see that shape tools will be written above or below your mouse cursor, like it is written currently above my own mouse cursor. So I would click on that tiny little arrow, and when I click on that tiny little arrow, I'm going to see all of this. Now, the tool I am looking for is this tool here called the rectangle shape tool. So right now, we have found the tool that can be used to create a rectangle shape in Figma. So now that I have found this tool that can be used to create a rectangle shape here in Figma, what do I do next? The answer is simple. I will select the tool by clicking on it. And when I select the tool by clicking on it, I'm going to bring my mouse cursor to this empty region here that we call the Figma canvas. Now, to actually use this tool here in the Figma canvas, all you have to do is to just click anywhere here on the Figma canvas. Now, the moment I do that, a rectangle shape will be created for me just like this. So let's go over this process once again. To create a rectangle shape, all you have to do is to find the tool that can create it. And here is the tool. Now, when you find the tool, you select the tool by clicking on the tool. And when you select it by clicking on it, then you come here to the Figma canvas and use this tool that you have selected by clicking anywhere on the Figma canvas. And there, your rectangle shape will be created. Now, I would like to let you know that this is not the only way to create a rectangle shape. There is the second method, which we are going to look at just now. And the second method goes like this. If you want to create a rectangle shape, first of all, find the tool that can be used to create it. After you find the tool, select the tool by clicking on it. Now, when you select the tool by clicking on it, come here to the canvas, click anywhere on the canvas, and keep pressing your mouse down when you click and drag like this until you are satisfied with the size of the rectangle shape that you want to create. And when you are satisfied, you leave your mouse, and there you have your rectangle shape. And that's it. So now you can see that the difference between the first method and the second method is just that when we select the rectangle shape tool, using the first method, all we just have to do is click anywhere on the canvas and our rectangle shape will be created. But for the second method, when we select the rectangle shape tool, all we have to do is to come here to the canvas, click anywhere, hold our mouse cursor down after we click on it, and drag till we are satisfied with the size of the rectangle shape that we have. And once again, that's that for creating a rectangle shape in Figma. Now, before we learn how to create another shape here in Figma, we are going to talk about what we call object selection here in Figma. Now, for you to understand what object selection is in Figma, I would want you to always remember this statement I am about to make. Now, the statement goes like this. In Figma here, anything that is created inside the Figma canvas here can also be called an object. So what this means is that here in my canvas currently, where I have created 6 rectangle shapes, I can also say that I have created 6 objects. So now that we know that anything you create inside the Figma canvas can also be called an object, what actually then is object selection? Well, object selection is simply when you select an object in the Figma canvas so that you can move the object, design the object, or delete the object. Basically, object selection is you selecting the object in the canvas that you want to work on. For example, I have 6 objects in my Figma canvas currently, right? So if I want to work on this particular object here, let's say I want to move this particular object from here to here. What I'll need to do first is to select the object. And how do I select the object? Now, to select any object in Figma, bring your mouse cursor to the toolbar section here, then click on this little arrow here. Now, when you click on that little arrow, select the Move tool by clicking on Move here. And just to mention, we are selecting the Move tool because the Move tool is the tool that is used for object selection. So after selecting the Move tool, bring your mouse cursor into the canvas and click on the object that you want to select, just like this. Now, when you do that, the object that you clicked on will now be selected. And to know that the object is selected, you will see these tiny little boxes around the 4 corners of the object with these blue lines connecting those 4 tiny little boxes, just like what you can see here on my screen. So now that we have selected this object, let's move it. Now, to move the object that I have just selected, I'm going to come here to the object, click on the object, hold it, and drag it to where I want to keep it. And that's that. I'm going to leave my mouse cursor now. Also, if I want to delete this object here, for example, all I have to do first is to select the Move tool. When I select the Move tool here, I'm going to come here in the canvas and click on the object I want to delete so that the object I want to delete will be selected. Now, when the object I want to delete is selected, all I have to do is to just press the delete key on my keyboard and the object will be deleted. So you can now see that for me to work on any object here in the Figma canvas, I have to select the object first using the Move tool. As simple as that. Now, just in case this concept of object selection is still complex to you, just think of it like this. Now, imagine you have 6 oranges and you decide that you want to eat only 1 out of the 6 oranges here. What do you do in such a case? Of course, what you'll do is to select 1 orange out of the 6 oranges and eat that one you have selected, right? Now, that's the same thing here in Figma. You may have so many objects in the Figma canvas, but if you want to work on a particular object in the Figma canvas, you have to select that particular object so that you can work on it. So let's use what we have learned so far under object selection to delete all these rectangles from our canvas. Let's select these rectangles one after the other and delete them one after the other. So I'm going to come here. I would select the Move tool first. After selecting the Move tool, I'm going to click on this rectangle object to select it. When I select it, I would press the Delete key on my keyboard and that rectangle will be deleted. Now I'm going to repeat the same process for the remaining rectangles in my canvas. So I'm going to come here and I would select the Move tool again. But I would want you to notice something here. Whenever I select the Move tool, you would notice that this particular box here is highlighted in blue, and it is highlighted in blue with that arrow. That arrow represents the Move tool. You can see it's the same arrow we have here beside Move. Now, that same arrow is the arrow you see here inside this blue box. Now, what this is trying to tell us is that currently in my canvas, the Move tool is the active tool. For example, if I come here and I select the rectangle shape tool once again, you'd see that the blue box, right, that was here, will now move to this section here in the toolbar, right? You can see that now we have the blue box here with the rectangle shape inside the blue box. This is trying to tell us that currently in my canvas, it's the rectangle shape tool that is the active tool. And when a tool is the active tool, you don't have to select it over and over again. What I mean is this: when I come here and I select the move tool is active. And as long as the move tool is active, I don't have to come here to select it over and over again. So now that the move tool is active, I'm just going to come here in my canvas and use that active move tool to select this rectangle by clicking on it. When I click on that rectangle, I'm going to press the delete key on my keyboard for that rectangle to be deleted. Now let's delete this rectangle. Of course, I won't have to come here to select the move tool again, right? Because it is still active. So I'm just going to stay here in the canvas and click on this rectangle to select it. When it is selected, then I would press the delete key on my keyboard. And I'll do the same for this and for this. Now, before we move on to create other shapes, I would like us to talk about multi-object selection. Now, multi-object selection is simply you selecting more than one object at a time in the Figma canvas. So how do we do this? To do this, let's create 5 rectangles in the Figma canvas. So now that I have 5 rectangles in the Figma canvas here, let's delete all the 5 rectangles from the Figma canvas. But this time, I am not going to select all the 5 rectangles one after the other like I did before. What I am going to do is I am going to use multi-object selection to select all of them at once so that I can delete all of them at once. So how do we use multi-object selection to select all these 5 rectangles at once? To do that, just press and hold the Shift key on your keyboard. And while you are holding down the Shift key on your keyboard, use your mouse to click on all the rectangles one by one. Like that, like that, like that, like that, and like that. Now, when you are done clicking on all the rectangles, leave your mouse cursor and also leave the Shift key. So now you can see that these 5 rectangles are selected all at once. You can see those 4 tiny little boxes around the 4 corners of the whole 5 rectangles. And you can see these blue lines connecting those 4 tiny little boxes, just to show you that, yes, all of them, all the 5 rectangles are selected at once. So now that these 5 rectangles are selected at once, if I press the delete key on my keyboard, you'll see that all the 5 rectangles will be deleted at once. And that's how multi-object selection can make our lives easier. Now, there is a faster way to do multi-object selection, and to see how we can use the faster way, let's bring back our 5 rectangles once again. Now, just to mention, to bring back anything you have deleted in Figma, just use the Ctrl-Z command if you are using a Windows computer. But if you are using a Mac computer, then use Command and Z. So I am going to bring back the 5 rectangles that we deleted, and here we have them. So now that we have these rectangles here in the Figma canvas, you can see that bringing them back, they are still inside this selection box, which is them being inside these 4 tiny little boxes and those blue lines, right? What this means is that they are still selected. So what I'm going to do here is to deselect them. And to deselect anything you have selected in Figma, all you have to do is click on an empty space in the canvas, and anything that is selected will be deselected. So now that I have deselected the selection of those 5 rectangles, what we are going to look at now is to see how we can use multi-object selection in a faster way. Now, all I'm going to do is to click anywhere here in the Figma canvas. When I click, I'm going to hold down my mouse after clicking and then drag my mouse across all the objects I want to select at once. And as you can see, When I drag my mouse cursor across all the objects I want to select and then leave my mouse cursor, you will see that I have still achieved multi-object selection. But this time I achieved it faster than I did before when I held down the Shift key and selected all the rectangles one after the other. Now, if I come here and I still press the delete key on my keyboard, all the rectangles will be deleted because all the rectangles were selected. And that's it. That's how to achieve multi-object selection without holding down the Shift key and clicking on all your objects one after the other. So at this point, we have learned all we need to learn under object selection in Figma. So now it's time for us to learn how to create other shapes in Figma. And the next shape we are going to learn how to create is a circular shape. Now, to create a circular shape in Figma, we need to find the tool that can be used to create it. And to find the tool, or to find any tool at all you have to do is to come here to the toolbar section. And when I come here in the toolbar section, I am going to click on this tiny little arrow here. When I click on that tiny little arrow, I'm going to see this tool here called the ellipse tool. Now, this ellipse tool is the tool that is used to create circular shapes in Figma. And to use it, all you have to do is to select it by clicking on it. Now, when you select the ellipse tool, come here in the canvas, click, hold, and drag on the canvas, and there you have your circular shape. Now, to create a very round circle, all you have to do is this. Come back here, select the ellipse tool once again. When you select the ellipse tool, then press and hold the Shift key on your keyboard. And while holding the Shift key on your keyboard, come to the canvas to click, hold, and drag. And you'd see that the circle shape that will be created this time will be a better circle or a more perfect circle than the one I just created without holding down the Shift key. And that's that for creating a circular shape in Figma. So far, we have learned how to create two shapes in Figma, a rectangle and a circle. So at this point, we are going to learn how to create a triangle shape. Now, to create a triangle shape in Figma, all you have to do is to come here to the toolbar section, click on this tiny arrow here, and select the polygon shape tool. Now, that's the tool that is used to create triangles in Figma. So now that we have found the tool, all we have to do is to just click on it to select it. Now, when you click on the polygon shape tool to select it, all you have to do is to bring your mouse cursor into the Figma canvas, click, hold, and drag. And there you have your triangle shape. And that's how easy it is to create a triangle shape in Figma. Now, let's learn how to create another shape. And this time around, we are going to learn how to create a star shape in Figma. Now, to create a star shape, come over here to the toolbar section, click on that tiny drop down arrow there. When you do that, come here and select the star shape tool by clicking on the star shape tool. Now, when I select the star shape tool, I'm going to come here in the Figma canvas, click, hold, and drag. And there I have my star shape created. Now, we have other shapes that we can create in Figma, and the other shapes that we are going to learn how to create now are the arrow shape and the line shape. Now, to create an arrow shape in Figma, all you need to do is to select the arrow shape tool, which is this. Now, to select it, just click on it. When you click on it, come here in the Figma canvas, click, hold, and drag, and there you have your arrow shape created. Now, if you want to create an arrow that will stay on a straight line, this is how to go about it. All you have to do is to come here, first of all, select the arrow shape tool. When you select the arrow shape tool, press and hold down the Shift key on your keyboard. And while you are holding down the Shift key on your keyboard, use your mouse cursor to click, hold, and drag in the canvas. And as you can see, what I have here is an arrow shape that is staying on a perfect straight line from left to right. You can also use this technique to draw an arrow sitting on a perfect straight line from top to bottom. Let's try that. Let's come here and let's select the arrow shape tool once again, then press and hold down the shift key on my keyboard. Then come here in the canvas. After doing that, click on the canvas, hold and drag downwards. And as you can see, right, the arrow is sitting on a straight line from top to bottom. Now, the last basic shape that we are going to learn how to create here in Figma is the line shape. And to create a line in Figma, or to create a line shape in Figma, all you need to do is to come here and select the line shape tool. How do we select it? Just click on it. When you click on it to select it, then come here in the canvas, click anywhere on the canvas, hold and drag. And when you do that, your line will be created. Now, just the same way we created our arrow on a perfect straight line, if you want your line shape to be a perfect straight line, all you have to do is to come here and select the line shape tool. Now, after selecting the line shape tool, press and hold down the shift key on your keyboard. And when you do that, you can come here now, click on your canvas, hold and drag. And when you do that, you would see that your line is going to be perfectly straight. Now, you can also create this perfect straight line from top to bottom. All you still have to do is to come here and select the line shape tool first, then press and hold down the shift key on your keyboard. When you hold down the shift key on your keyboard, go into your canvas, click, hold and drag downwards for the perfect straight line to be created. And when the line is created, leave your mouse cursor and leave the shift key. So these are all the basic shapes that we have in Figma, and we have learned how to create each and every one of them. So at this point, we are going to learn basic editing for some of these basic shapes that we have learned how to create. Now, before we learn basic editing for some of these basic shapes in Figma, I'd like to say this. For those who are interested in joining the paid community for this course, use the link in the description to do that. And just to mention here, the benefit of joining this paid community is that you'll get to meet with other designers and learn with them. You will also get to join our live design sessions, which is going to be holding once a week. And finally, you'll stand a chance to earn a certificate by the end of the course. So now that we know about the paid learning community, let's go back to learning, and at this point, let's learn basic editing for the rectangle shape, the circle shape, the triangle shape, and the star shape. Let's learn basic editing for these basic shapes, and let's start with the rectangle shape. Now, to carry out basic editing on a rectangle shape, I have to create one, right? So let's create a rectangle shape. And here it is. So when you have a rectangle shape here, there are different actions that you can take if you want to carry out basic editing on the rectangle shape. And these actions are editing the rectangle's width, editing the rectangle's height, editing the corner radius of the rectangle, and editing the angle position of the rectangle. Now let's carry out these actions. Let's start by editing the width of our rectangle here. Now, to edit the rectangle's width is you basically deciding how wide you want the rectangle to be. And to do that, the first thing you need to do is to select the rectangle. So I'm going to come here, I would select the move tool and then use the move tool to select the rectangle like this. And when the rectangle is selected, you can come here now to this right panel. That panel is called the Properties panel. So we can come here to the Properties panel and stay here to edit the width of this rectangle. Now make sure the rectangle is selected. While the rectangle is selected, come here in the Properties panel and you'd see a section here called Dimensions under Layout. Now under Dimensions, you'd see a box here, right? Now that box can also be called a property box, right? You see we have one box here and we have another box here. Now, this one here, this property box here, where you can see my mouse cursor, has a label or has a letter inside it. That letter is letter W. Now, that letter stands for width. This simply means that if we want to control or we want to edit the width of our rectangle currently, all we have to do is to come here in this property box where we have the letter W. right? So if I come in here inside this property box, you'd see that inside the property box currently, there is a number there. That number is 186 in my case. In your case, it can be anything, right? Now, what this means is that the rectangle currently is 186 pixels wide. Now, we are going to talk about pixels later, but just know that pixels is the measurement unit that we are using to measure how wide and how tall our rectangle is. So having 186 here is Figma telling us that currently our rectangle is 186 pixels wide. Now, can we change that? Can we edit that? Yes, we can. How do we do that? Go inside that property box, click on 186, then use the backspace key on your keyboard to remove it. When you remove 186, go ahead and type in any number you want to type in. In my case, I'm going to say 100. When I type in 100, I would press the enter key on my keyboard and my rectangle's width will now be 100 pixels, which of course is lower than 186. And as you can see here in the canvas, the width of the rectangle becomes smaller than what it was initially. So now we have seen how to edit the width of a rectangle. Let's see the next action here, which is editing the rectangle's height. Now, to edit the height of a rectangle is simply you deciding how tall you want the rectangle to be. So for you to do that, make sure the rectangle shape is selected. When you select the rectangle shape, then you can go over to the properties panel and still come here to this region where you have layout and dimensions. And when you come here, you'd see that there is another box here, right, with letter H inside it. Now, that box that has letter H inside it is the box that controls the height of a rectangle shape, which is selected currently in the canvas. So if I want to control the height of my rectangle shape, all I'll do is just come here and remove the number that is there currently. In my own case, the number there is 114. Now that in my own case, in your own case, it can be different. All I'm going to do and all I want you to do is to go inside that property box, use the backspace key on your keyboard to remove what is there, and then go ahead to type in whatever you want to type in there. In my case again, I'm going to type 100. When I type in 100, I would press the enter key on my keyboard and the height of my rectangle shape will be adjusted to be 100 pixels tall. So what I have here currently in my canvas is a rectangle shape that is 100 pixels wide and 100 pixels tall. Now you can still come back here to adjust these numbers to whatever value you want to adjust them to. You can come here and keep this set to 233. You can see the width or the wideness of the rectangle has increased. I can still come here and reduce this to, let's say, 54. You can see that the height of the rectangle is being reduced. So you can always manipulate those numbers to suit whatever design need you have. Now let us look at the next action. The next action is editing the corner radius of the rectangle. Now, for us to edit the corner radius of the rectangle, we need to know what the corner radius of a rectangle is. Now, whenever you hear the term corner radius on a rectangle, just know that corner radius on a rectangle refers to the radius effect or the round effect at the corners of a rectangle. Currently, our rectangle has 4 corners, right? 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if I want to implement or if I want to apply a corner radius effect on this rectangle, it's going to affect those 4 corners. So how do I do this? I would keep the rectangle selected, then I would come back here to the properties panel, and this time around I would go to the appearance region or the appearance section in the properties panel. And in the appearance section, you'd see that we have the corner radius property here. You can see where my mouse cursor is at. There is corner radius written there. Now, under where you have corner radius written, there is a box here. Now, this box is the corner radius property box. That's the box where we can stay in to edit the corner radius of our rectangle. So I'm going to come here inside that box where I have 0 currently. I would use the backspace key to take out 0 and I would type in 24. When I type in 24, I would press the enter key on my keyboard, and as you can see, the corners of my rectangle are now curved. Now I can come here and type in 8. And you can see that, yes, even when I type in 8, the 4 corners are still curved, but not as curved as they were when I typed in 24. Now, I would also want us to understand that when you are applying the corner radius effect on a rectangle, sometimes you might want to apply that corner radius effect on only a corner, or sometimes just on 2 corners. Sometimes you might even want the corner radius effect on a particular corner to be more than the corner radius effect on another corner. Now, what does this mean? This means that it is not all the time we want the 4 corners to be curved the same way. So if there is a need like this, all you have to do is to keep the rectangle selected, come over here to the properties panel and go to the corner radius region here, and you would see that right in front of this box where I typed in 8, there is an icon there. That is still another property, and that property is called the individual corners property. All you have to do is just click on that individual corners property. When you click on it, you'd see a little panel given to us here. Now, this panel can allow us to edit the individual corners on a rectangle anyhow we want to edit them. So let's say I want to edit this corner here to be very curved, right? I would come here and I would use this box here with 8 in it. In your own case, the number can be different, right? But there is a box here. When I hover on this box, you'd see that a text will appear close to my mouse cursor saying top left corner radius. What that means is that this box is the box that controls the corner radius of the top left corner. So I can come here inside this box and change what we have there from 8 to, let's say, 18, right? When I type in 18 and I press the enter key on my keyboard, you'd realize that that particular top left corner will be very curved more than the other corners. Now I can even come here and hover on this other box here. When I hover on this other box here, you'd see that a text will appear close to my mouse cursor saying top right corner radius. Now, what that means is this. Figma is trying to tell us that this box here is used to control the radius effect on the top right corner of this rectangle. So if I come in here inside that box and I set the value to 0, you'd see that that top right corner will not have any curving effect or any radius effect. It's going to just be a very sharp corner. Now, if I come here and I hover on this other box here, you'd see that what is written close to my mouse cursor is now bottom left corner radius. And what that means is that this box controls the radius effect at the bottom left corner of my rectangle. Now, if I come here and I set the bottom left corner radius to 16, you'd see that, yes, that corner will be curved by 16 pixels. Now, this other box here, which is the bottom right corner radius box, controls the bottom right corner of my rectangle. So if I want to edit the radius effect at the bottom right corner of my rectangle, I would come there and I would change that to whatever value I want to change it to. Now I can go there and type in 40 and then press the enter key on my keyboard, and you'll see that this bottom right corner will be very, very curved. And that's that for editing the corner radius of a rectangle shape. Now, let us see the last action that we can take to edit a rectangle at a basic level. Now, this action says editing the angle position of the rectangle. Now, every rectangle that is created is sitting on an angle position, in most cases 0 degrees. Now, sometimes we might want to tilt the angle positions of our rectangle, right? And if you want to do that, all you have to do is to just keep the rectangle selected, then head over to the properties panel. And here in the properties panel, go to the position section. And under the position section, you'd see transform. Now, right under transform, there is a box. Now, this box has 0 degrees written in it. That box is the rotation property box, and that is the box we are going to stay in to change the angle position of our rectangle. So I'm going to go inside that box and use my backspace key to take out 0 degrees, and then let's type in 45 degrees. Now all you have to do is to just type in 45 and then press the enter key on your keyboard. And as you can see, our rectangle is now tilted to a 45-degree angle position. Now let's come back here and let's take that back to 0. I'll type in 0 there and I'll press the enter key on my keyboard, and now you can see that our rectangle is sitting on a straight horizontal line at 0 degrees. So these are the basic actions that you can take to edit a rectangle shape at a basic level. So that's going to be all for this episode, because I don't intend to make the early episodes too long. So in the next episode, we are going to continue from where we have stopped. See you in the next episode.